What's up, everybody? Welcome into another College Football Saturday. It is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. He is Jim Dunaway. He is Lance Taylor. I am Ryan Brown. Johnston RV Center brings you the show. It is week 5, which means the biggest game in college football up to date will be played tonight in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, hosting Georgia. This team, as they've said all day on game day, normally you give a trophy after this game, guys. So we're not going to do that tonight, Lance, but as they've said all day on game day, it shouldn't diminish what this game is going to be just because there's no confetti falling or no trophy presentation tonight.
No, and I think for both head coaches, I mean, how big would it be for Kalen DeBoer to be able to beat Georgia in this setting in his first opportunity? And I can't even imagine the narrative surrounding Kalen DeBoer. He would go to 13-2 against ranked teams in 3 years. As a head coach, it's really amazing that he had that many opportunities against ranked teams in Washington. But I guess when you play, in conference championship games in back-to-back years, and when you play, obviously the college football playoff, I guess you have those opportunities. But on, the flip side, Kirby has got to get his Alabama problem right, 1-5, and he falls to 1-6 and 0-1 against Kalen DeBoer. It's going to be a big deal. So yeah, massive game, and we've talked about the schedule still. Alabama's got a difficult schedule. Georgia's got a brutal schedule after this game.
That's right. But for Kalen DeBoer, this one means so much because if he gets this W, it would be the biggest win of his career. Easy to say that, right? Biggest win of his career, including the Pac-12 championship game. I would say that. Yeah. Including a semifinal.
I would agree.
I'm going to say that. Biggest win of his career because he's now at Alabama, and it does put him, I think, in a different level nationally on the way people will perceive him. For Kirby Smart, yeah, it's an Alabama problem if he loses it, but then he doesn't play Alabama next week or the week after. He may not play Alabama again the rest of this year. So he can deal with that later on and still make it into the playoffs. But for Kalen DeBoer, you're right, LT. This could be strap me to the rocket ship and send me to the top of college football kind of day for Kalen DeBoer if they win this game. Because all of a sudden, as you said, Alabama's schedule, you start looking, okay, where can 2 losses come? Tennessee is obviously one, on the road at LSU, maybe at home to Missouri. But, I mean, you got to find 2 losses after this for Alabama, and that gets harder to do if they have the type of talent to beat Georgia tonight.
Yeah, I disagree it's his biggest win, but I see what you're saying. I think biggest regular season win. I mean, he did beat Texas in a college football playoff.
Yeah, when I agreed with Jim, I agreed too quickly. I'm with Lance on this. Going to a national championship game, that's the biggest win, but this, in terms of how he's viewed, they've talked about it all morning on game day. Like, you've got to win a game like this to be viewed Nick Saban's replacement. I mean,
that's my point. Yep.
Yeah, that's just the job you take, I mean, that when you get the Alabama job.
Yeah.
So as we start the show, MyBookie.ag has this as Georgia favored by 1. Lance, that number has just continued to creep down. There's still, what do we got? 9 hours until kick, 9.5 hours until kick. You think this is where we'll go off at Georgia -1?
Probably so. And I think this is going to be I think one of two things happens here. I mean, maybe Alabama's just an elite team, which, I do think they're a playoff team. But if Georgia wins this game, it's going to be, shame on me. How could I think Georgia wasn't going to win another regular season game? I mean, when you win 42 consecutive, and I know, Dunaway, you threw in there yesterday, we were talking about this, when you put in the fact the games they've played against Alabama, there's 2 losses over that course. But still, not a lot of times you can get Georgia right at a pick after winning 42 consecutive regular season games. And I do think they're going to come in with a mat on, whatever that matters. I don't know. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I would be shocked if somebody wins this game by double digits. I think it'll be a 1-possession game.
Yeah, I hope it is a kind of game that is worthy of the buildup. You always wonder about that. And there's potential, I guess, for maybe Alabama to not show up on this stage against a Georgia team or vice versa. But I'm with you guys. I hope it's a 1-possession game and we get a classic tonight. To your point, though, Georgia has been a machine, but there are some things to look at. And I think you can look at the Kentucky game as both a curse and a blessing. It did show us that they were not the machine they always have looked in the past in the regular season. They did not dominate an inferior Kentucky team. I don't think they put as much pressure and did as well. I mean, their defense played lights out, didn't allow a touchdown, but still, you still made enough mistakes to allow Kentucky to get those 4 field goals. And then the offense, they're missing playmakers right now. And maybe maybe they find a couple of them tonight and they take Alabama to the woodshed. But right now, Carson Beck, who yesterday Mel Kiper still says is the first overall pick in the NFL draft, and I know we'll talk about Cam Ward in a second, but the way Carson Beck plays the football game, so conservative, he's going to have to get out of his comfort zone a little bit tonight, I think, to beat this young Alabama secondary. Fascinating game to me, and I want to see what Carson Beck does in this setting. 0-1 career-wise against Alabama. He's never beat him.
All right, we'll talk a lot more about that. Emily Grace McWhorter will also join us. She's on her way to cover that game, little T down at Auburn for Oklahoma-Auburn. We'll talk about both those. Johnston RV Center brings you the show, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. But a lot of you over in the MyBookie.ag chat room talking about what we were going to go to next. So let's do it right now. And Zach started it with this question. Did the ACC officials rig the win for Miami? That's what everybody is talking about after that game last night. First of all, an insane second half. I mean, that was just a crazy second half. I know we'll never get to this Monday, so let's spend a little bit of time on this game. Lance, I can't remember. You did not think, huh?
We'll get to it Monday. Are
you kidding me? We'll never get to this. It's a Friday night game, and Georgia and Alabama are playing.
We will get to this game Monday because it was an ACC fixed job. I mean, that you can't call that on the field and come back and LT overrule that with the video you saw there. It was protecting the unbeaten team because if Virginia Tech wins that game, all of a sudden the ACC is a one-bid league.
Yeah, you're right, and I think it was protection because we talk about 4 undefeated teams right now in the ACC. Pittsburgh and Duke have no shot of completing the deal. Louisville, we'll see what happens in South Bend today, but I don't think you've got a big belief that Louisville is going to go 11-1 or 12-0. Look, it wasn't a catch. But once you rule it a catch, you can't overturn that.
Correct.
And it was an awful call. That's got to be devastating. I was shocked when they finally went to the call and he said, after review, the ruling on the field, kind of a hesitation, has been reversed.
I know. He was so dramatic.
99% he was going to say the ruling on the field is either confirmed or the ruling on the field is a touchdown. And I can't believe they overturned that. That's really sad for Virginia Tech. I can't believe Virginia Tech, that team's got 3 losses already before October. But yes, it was a fixed job. And I do think the ACC was involved. You saw the shot of the ACC headquarters, the dramatic shot before they went back to the field for the actual call. Pathetic is what it was. But, it shouldn't have been the call on the field. Miami shouldn't have been in that situation. Got to defend that play better too. But, this is a terrible look for the ACC.
Yeah,
Rick points out the fact that what gets overshadowed is the holding call on 61-yard touchdown, which he's absolutely right. That was an awful call. I mean, there was no hold at all in there, and the ref's looking right at it and flips the flag out. I mean, that was if I'm a Virginia Tech fan, it was hard for me to sleep last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, you go back earlier in the game on the halfback pass that they ruled intentional grounding. But first of all, it's a halfback throwing the ball, so I don't expect him to be anywhere close as accurate as a quarterback. So he's throwing it downfield, and there's a covered receiver, and the ball does land out of bounds. But if you look where the snap takes place, it's on the far hash, and he runs all the way outside of the hash marks on the other side. There's no way that's not at least out of the pocket. And if he did throw it away, if it was just a throwaway situation, I thought that was a horrible call early on. There were several things that happened to Virginia Tech I thought were bad calls.
Yeah, that's a different rule, though. The only person that can ground the football legally is the first one that touches it.
Is the first one that touches it.
Yeah. Okay. So the quarterback, if the halfback is not the first one to touch it, that outside the pocket goes out the window. He's not. He's at least got to get it close to a receiver. You can no longer just get it back to the line of scrimmage and all of that.
Okay, so that's something I didn't know. Thank you for that explanation. Did you not think that was close enough?
I would not have called it. Yeah,
I would not have called grounding on that. Yeah. I mean, it was not in that guy's direct. It wasn't going to be a completed pass. But for a guy on the run who's not a quarterback throwing the football, I could easily see him missing it by 10 yards to the right. Was he probably throwing it away? Yeah, but I don't think that should have been called. And that was just the tip of the iceberg, to the holding call and to the one at the end. And I agree 100% with what Lance said. I don't think it was a catch.
I don't either. Yeah.
But once you call it a catch on the field, And I'm glad we don't. I don't know about you guys. I'm glad we don't see Birmingham. I'm glad we don't have that shot in the SEC headquarters.
I'm with you. I don't
because
like.
that was the most disappointing command center I'd ever seen in my life. TVs and everything. That setup's okay, but basically it's just two guys.
Well, you had two guys like they were just having a random conversation, and another guy, two more leaned up like right in front of a screen.
Yeah, why were they looking at a small screen?
I know.
I mean, hopefully in the command center we've got 90 in Birmingham. We got 90-inch screens, and we're standing up there like Kenny the Jet with Barkley show. He's running up there and he's able to hand touch where the decision has to be made. That was the most disappointing letdown of seeing the ACC command center I've ever seen.
Yeah, and what really sucks for Virginia Tech, and I know everybody already buried them because they were 2-2, but they had yet to have an ACC loss.
Yep.
First loss was SEC, second loss last week was Big Ten with the Rutgers. So, they still had an opportunity to technically control their destiny as far as getting to an ACC championship game. And, Virginia Tech is one of those teams that got really good in the second half last year, and I think they would have had some momentum coming out of this game. And you just wonder how flat and how devastated this program is going to be. But that was completely pathetic. I didn't mind it because one of my Calcutta teams is Miami. Yeah. But boy, I tell you, they got job.
It always comes back. LT's always got either a line on it or a Calcutta team.
I
don't mind it, but
I had Virginia Tech plus the points last night. Atlanta's
winner either way.
And then I have my Miami as a Calcutta team. We ended up going 2-1 after a 3-0 Thursday night. But Washington, and I know we'll get to them at some point. Jed Fish is not a likable guy. I guess he's got his initials on his visor, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I guess that's his initials on his visor. Did they say?
I guess. I don't know.
But boy, you can tell he's just a dick. And for all the kicks that they missed, for the special teams blunder, what was the call on the block field goal? Ineligible man.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington was, I thought, 2 touchdowns better than Rutgers. And
I agree with you. And I just couldn't believe, as bad as their kicker had been last night, they played it so conservative there at the end. It was just all those dink and dunks, getting a guy out of bounds, gain 2 yards, gain 3 yards with the clock running. And I mean, your kicker's already missed 2 kicks. I don't know why are you not trying to push it down the field? And if nothing else, Lance, shorten the field goal. I mean, you may not score a touchdown, but just shorten the field goal.
Yeah, it's Ryan Day, LT, just like he did against Georgia. You get to a position, then you start. Well, it's not going to be blamed on me, the coach. It's going to be blamed on the field goal kicker, and that's what it was last night. Be aggressive, and if you call a play that throws an interception, you're going to catch some heat. But you're the guy making $6 million. Don't play conservative and force the kicker who's been erratic to make the kick to try to save your ass.
Yeah, and that's what sucks. I mean, you put a guy out there that's already missed a 48 and 45, and you expect him to make it 55 to take it to overtime. You just wonder mentally who is more challenged this morning. Is it Washington's kicker or Virginia Tech as an entire program?
There's no doubt. I don't know how Virginia Tech picks themselves up after this. All right, let's get to today's games. It is the Johnston RV Center College Football Preview. And we do it every single Saturday right here. Please give us a thumbs up if you're watching and share it. I mean, just hit a retweet if you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook. Share it wherever you are. We appreciate you doing that. Johnston RV Center wants you to go see America in an RV, and they'll give you some great prices to do it. Travel trailers as low as $145 a month. Also, fifth wheels, savings starting at $45,000 on fifth wheels. RV warranty forever. Make sure you've got a lifetime warranty on anything that is previously owned that qualifies or new. Right there at Johnston RV Center. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, Dunaway, great tailgate idea if you're headed to Tuscaloosa tonight is Champy's, world famous fried chicken. Maybe a touch late if you're going to Auburn, but you can still swing by there too.
That's right. Or if you plan ahead, you can always get it the night before and take it with you down to any game. Johnston RV Center brings you the show. So does Champy's Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Sterling and the crew down there, always working for you, brining their chicken overnight. It soaks in all the flavor, and then he prepares you, cook to order the next day, and it's juicy all the way down to the bone. Unbelievable flavor, and great for tailgates as well. The big pan of hand-cut chicken fingers, also the big pan of Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. Take those to the tailgate. You can check out the whole menu at champy'schicken.com, Highway 119 in Alabaster.
All right.
Did you see this trivia question? I'm just looking at game day.
Okay, far away.
What is it?
And it's something that, and I normally have these little factoids or one of you guys do. It's the last active head coach to beat Kirby Smart. Because, I talked about the last regular season loss. Obviously, his last loss was to Nick Saban, inactive. His last regular season loss, 2020, to Dan Mullen in Florida. So the last active head coach to beat him, you guys aren't going to get this.
Last active head coach to beat Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
Well,
so Zach says, I'm pretty sure the Aflac trivia question is the one y'all asked the drunk guy at the rabbit hole. We did not ask this one at the rabbit hole.
No. Will Muschamp is not. These are active head coaches, so Will Muschamp is out.
Yep. I would guess Gus Malzahn.
Oh, that's a great guess, Brownie, down at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, but Lance's reaction tells me I'm not correct, and he also said I would never get this one.
Don't guess yet. If it's not Gus Malzahn, let me see.
You would never get this in a million years.
Mark Stoops never beat him. In a million years.
Yeah.
Active head coach in a million years.
Morgan guesses Tom Herman.
I'm sure the chat could probably help you out, but
is it Tom Herman? That's who Morgan guesses.
Yeah, it's Tom Herman.
Tom Herman.
How about that? You forget he's an active coach. That's why you would never guess it, right?
Yeah, that was your Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, Sugar Bowl with Texas. Yeah, when Texas was back and they were.
Yeah. And that was the guy afterwards that stood up and said, Texas is back, right?
Sam Erlinger, the quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would, and look, and I've got game day on here with no sound. I'd love to see what the conversation is between Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin right now.
Yeah, well, I'll go back and watch it afterwards. I can rewind. I'll go do that. I'm interested as well.
Well, speaking of Lane Kiffin, they host Kentucky, 16-point favorite. It's 11 o'clock ABC game. 52 is the total in this game at MyBookie.ag, code NextRound. Lance, I'll start with you. Ole Miss laying 16 at home to the Wildcats of Kentucky.
Yeah, look, I don't foresee a Miami-Virginia Tech situation where you've got basically a 17-point dog that has every opportunity to win this game. Kentucky's lost 3 straight to Ole Miss, but Kentucky's defense maybe could keep them in it. You saw what they did to Carson Beck a couple of weeks ago. They're only allowing 217 yards per game. That is 6th fewest in the FBS. But on the other side, Ole Miss, they're leading the nation 55 points per game offensively. The defense is allowing just 5.5 points per game. I mean, they've been completely dominant. And, they've got playmakers all over the place, especially when you look at Trey Harris, you look at Henry Parrish Jr., the way Jackson Dart is playing. Probably a little bit bigger of a challenge for Ole Miss. And you wonder how sleepy the crowd's going to be. I just don't know if Ole Miss really gets up for Kentucky, but I don't think Ole Miss has many problems.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, you look at this matchup, LT, after what Kentucky did to Georgia, but you said, and look at Ole Miss, and you just named them. Ole Miss has 1,000 more playmakers, it looks like, than Georgia does, and the gap between what Jackson Dart plays and Carson Beck plays doesn't seem to be that big of a difference to me. So Ole Miss offensively looks like a better football team, and we don't know what Ole Miss's defense is yet. But everything tells me they could be a pretty good, surprising unit this year. This Rebels team, the schedules, I don't think it ever gets difficult for them. They have a couple of interesting games, but today's the day to make a statement for Ole Miss for the first time. National TV on ABC early, and if you dominate Kentucky, everybody's going to look what Ole Miss did to Kentucky, and Georgia only beat Kentucky by 1 point. It's a statement day for Lane Kiffin, I think.
Poor Gus and Klatt, they got to do this Minnesota-Michigan game Dunaway. Fox big noon kick on this one. Michigan's an 11-point favorite. Lance has told us all week Minnesota's actually in a worse quarterback situation than Michigan. The total Dunaway would support that, 34.5. That's going to be your total in today's college football. 34.5. Not a lot of points in this one.
Lance, this could be, I don't know if they keep, records of this, but this could be one of the fastest college football games we've had in a long, long time. With these two, they're just going to run the football all day and keep it out of their quarterback's hand. This could be like watching Greg Maddox pitch back in the 90s. It could be a 2-hour affair.
I took a look at this under. I ended up not playing it. Boy, it is just so low, and it's just one of those things that you've got to have a lot go right for it to go under 34.5. You get a couple of short fields. But it is terrible quarterback play. I don't know what Michigan's going to do. They tried Davis Warren. That didn't work. Alex Orji can't throw the football. They were really fortunate they were able to break off 340-plus runs against USC to be able to salvage that game. But Minnesota, I think, is worse at quarterback right now with this Max Brosmer kid. That's going to be a difficult watch. If we do a teaser in a little bit, which I normally throw at you, Dunaway,
okay,
I am going to include Michigan in this teaser.
B. Rich has already asked you for a teaser, LT. So you'll give us one at the end? You want to do one at the end? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you will include Michigan. So Michigan is part of it.
Yeah, Michigan will be part of
it. Did you write down the one the drunk frat boy came up and gave us at the end of the show yesterday? Dunaway had already jumped in another conversation. Dunaway, this, I say drunk. I mean, he was a very nice kid, but he came up.
He had Miami in it, so he already lost it.
That's true. Yeah. I forgot about that.
One guy gave us one on the air. Is that the one you were talking about?
No. This guy came up after the show, and it was like a 6-leg. Yeah. And he loved it. But Lance is right. I'd forgotten about the fact that Miami was the first one out of the chute.
I was blown away. He can want to tear it up. He ain't got to keep an eye on it today.
That's right.
Blown away, guys. The number of fraternity guys that were there, and then the number of them that gamble on a football Saturday. Yeah. And I finally got into the story of why that one table were so into Louisville. So you may not want to bet it, LT. With Alabama off last week, they did a road trip. And went up to the Louisville game at home last week because they were friends with Ja'Cory Brooks, who was at Alabama, who's now at Louisville. So they actually had video of Ja'Cory coming off the field in his Louisville uniform, high-fiving him and saying, roll tide, in his Louisville outfit. So they're all in on Louisville, for that reason.
So we used to, and this is a true story, we would find like these national handicappers, and we would get together, and you'd call these guys on an 800, and it would be, typical Soprano guys you would talk to. And they'd be like, I've got a zebra play for you. And my zebra play, which is it's
the refs.
We got a ref on the fix, and it's this Houston Iowa State game, but I'm gonna need you to go to Western Union. Honestly, we would go to the Brunos on University, and we had to wire this guy $100, and then he'd give us the plays. And I just remember, we thought, oh my gosh, these plays are absolutely golden. So I thought it was one of those that, maybe they got some kind of pick from Louisville. And then I found out one of the kids is from Louisville.
That's right. Yeah.
And I took a look at it, and it's a really difficult game to handicap. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit back and I'm going to pull for these kids, and let's just let Louisville win this game.
Yeah, come on, Louisville.
You were asked earlier, Lance. I was going to try to find it, but I don't have to dig too far back in the MyBookie.ag chat for an 11 a.m. play. Lance actually has one today at Lance's Luck. It's on this game, Baylor BYU. They're in Waco. Baylor is a 3-point favorite, total of 47. That's an FS1 game at 11 a.m. A rare 11 o'clock play for you, Lance. So Lance really likes what he sees in this one.
Yep. I stayed away completely from the 11 o'clocks last week. I took a look at a few 11 o'clocks today. I mentioned the Minnesota-Michigan total. I took a look at that. I think this Indiana thing is going to go one of two ways. I think they get beat and the magic's gone, or I think Indiana just wipes Maryland and people are like, damn, where do you really start to put the numbers on this team? But I would have laid it with Indiana, I think. I kind of like UAB plus the points against Navy.
Yeah, I know Brownie, Maryland is your upset alert.
That is correct.
This week, the Brown Bandit there. Baylor, just everything being with LT for 15 years. It seems like everything is, and I don't know what his play is at lanceslike.com. It seems like BYU, big win last week. They've had some big wins. They're veteran quarterback play now. And it just seems like every other year, Kalani Sitake's team's good. The defense seems aggressive. Baylor struggles. They lose it on a walk-off to Colorado. It seems like everything says BYU, and then Baylor's the favorite. So those are the ones that I would usually go BYU on. So we'll see if Lance has taught me well to try to stay away from that game. He's got to play
the vampire team, which is BYU. The numbers are pretty incredible. How good they are when they're playing in the dark as to how bad they are when they're playing with daylight.
Yeah, and it's an 11 a.m. kick. And some teams just don't handle that. Like, I never noticed this. I know.
There's no way a vampire in this world is out of his coffin right now.
I'm just envisioning a BYU player. He gets married. It's that wedding night. The first thing he does is flip the lights off. I'm going to be a peak performance tonight, babe. I don't know why I was thinking of that. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. So that's this whole 11 o'clock window. I understand why you stay away from them, LT, because I'm sitting here looking at them today, and I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know how many I want to watch.
It's one of those things that it's so frustrating when you get behind the 8 ball early, and it's so relaxing really to be able to sit back, take in that full window, and just get really prepared for everything that is about to go down after that. We had 2 1 o'clock games last week. We won both of those. It was a great feeling. So I will have that one game on. I'll be sweating it. It will set the table. We try to set the table, which we did on Thursday and Friday night. We're coming off 5-1 in those combined days. But, I just think it's really important to get off to a fast start on a Saturday.
Lance'sLike.com is where you get all those plays. We'll point out a couple more games he's got plays on. Let's go to the 2:30 window. It's the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview presented by Johnston RV Center and Champy's world famous fried chicken. Johnston RV Center. Make sure you can go see America in that RV. They got great deals on them right now, and you can save big. And also, if you're a member of the United States military or you're a retired veteran, they give you a great discount. Look, they know that is just simply a very small way, not a full way we can say thank you for your service, but they're doing what they can right there, man. That is a great way to say thank you. So go take advantage of it if you're one of our great active duty members of the military or a veteran. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com, and Champy's world famous fried chicken.
Yeah, Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster. Sterling, the crew ready. You don't have to be going to the games to enjoy the tailgate. You can just champyschicken.com, order ahead, and go through the drive-through window, pick up that food, go straight back to the house and enjoy football. Brined overnight, cooked order chicken, hand-cut chicken fingers, and so much more, champyschicken.com.
All right, let's hit the 2:30 window in Dallas. Arkansas is playing Texas A&M, and A&M's a 5.5-point favorite. 2:30 ESPN game. Total of 51 in this game. I guess the question is, Lance, I'll start with you. Marcel Reed, yes or no?
I would say yes. Now, maybe A&M looks at this, and Wegman is a little more athletic than people give him credit for. But Marcel Reed has really taken this rush attack with Moss to another level. They've rushed for 200+ in 3 straight games. And you look at Arkansas, their one strength, not only running the football, but also stopping the rush. They're 14th in rush defense right now in the FBS. Man, they've got an A&M problem, though. I mean, they've lost 11 of 12 to A&M since they've joined the league. And, is Arkansas good enough to win this game? Yeah, I don't know a lot about either one of these teams still. Arkansas had a nice win in Auburn last week. I'm still not sold on A&M. I think I probably would take the points in this situation. Wouldn't feel great about it, though.
Yeah, in fair, these games are usually a one-possession game, right? Usually Arkansas, Texas A&M, for whatever reason, no matter the records, this ends up being some crazy ending one-possession game. If I'm A&M, I embrace the 2 quarterbacks. If Wegman's ready to go, I think Marcel's earned his right to play. And if you got to go Wegman at some point, I just embrace 2 quarterbacks. I'm at the age now where I believe that some programs, some systems, you just are forced to go 2 quarterbacks. Auburn may be close to doing that as well, but I think Texas A&M is. When Wegman's healthy, what Marcel brings to the table, I don't think I want to keep either one of them off the floor. So I'd play both of them and give it a shot against Arkansas today. I like the Aggies to win this game, with Kelvin Elko's defense preventing the quarterback run for Arkansas being the difference for me.
Well, you mentioned, though, tight games real quick, Brown.
Yeah,
in those 11 losses, Arkansas has actually led in 9 of those games. So they have been tight games.
Dunaway out in the Coliseum, a 12:30 local time kick out there. I can't imagine how bad the crowd's going to be for this. USC is a 14.5-point favorite over Wisconsin. 50.5 is your total. It is the Brad and Gary game, 2:30 CBS. USC trying to bounce back from that disappointing loss to Michigan in this one.
Yeah, I guess every time USC plays a Big Ten game this first year, it's going to feel like another Rose Bowl. I mean, last week it felt so Rose Bowl-ish with USC and Michigan. Now it's Wisconsin and USC. It'll have that Rose Bowl feel to it. To me, Wisconsin, they were hit against Alabama by losing their starting quarterback on the first drive, and then the backup comes in with no preparation. He plays out the rest of that game, and then he had a bye week after Alabama where he knows he's the starter, and now Locke goes out against USC with a little bit of preparation. I expect Wisconsin to play better, but USC is a better team. They win this game, and they keep their playoff hopes alive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to get better as far as, I wonder mentally where they are coming into this game, coming off the bye, going into the Michigan game. I thought the defense had a lot of confidence. I thought they played, decent in the first half and that final drive. But they're giving up 100. They were giving up right at 100 yards per game. They gave up 199 on the ground in the first half to Michigan. Ches Maluzzi could have a big game against USC. I don't see USC in in any threat of losing this game, but it could be a little closer than people think.
Lance, you did, after all the talk yesterday, when you sent your picks today, I fully thought that a Louisville-Notre Dame pick would be forthcoming. You stayed away from this game.
I did.
Notre Dame, though, a 6.5-point favorite on Peacock over Louisville. It was a total of 46. Not an ACC game, obviously, but for Louisville, who is an ACC contender, this game could go a long way, perhaps, at the end of the year. And for Notre Dame, this could be it. This could be the death blow. I mean, a loss to Louisville, a loss to Northern Illinois. I don't know that a 10-2 Notre Dame team gets in the playoffs.
Yeah, look, and Notre Dame offensively has been a little challenged. Jeremiah Love and Riley Leonard running the football, but there really hasn't been a threat with this Notre Dame offense. But defensively, they've held 18 consecutive opponents to under 400 yards. Louisville coming off a weird game against Georgia Tech where they ended up winning the game and covering, but it's their first true road game. This is a team that is yet to turn the football over, and I mentioned this yesterday. They've only allowed 2 sacks. They can continue to play clean football. They've got a shot here, but they turn the football over. This Notre Dame defense can dominate.
It can dominate, and I don't know what Louisville is right now, but I think I do know what Notre Dame is, and I'm leaning the Irish in this game at home today. Louisville, I thought, was lucky. I felt like Georgia Tech was driving to win the game when they made that stop and then had the special teams touchdown that put that away. Gave them a cover and a win, but I really felt like Tech was driving to win. I know I had Georgia Tech in the upset alert. That's why I keep going back to that game, but I was watching it intensely. I didn't feel like Louisville was that much better than Georgia Tech. I like Notre Dame in this contest, and I think it's very simple in the ACC now. Despite the other unbeaten teams, it is a Clemson-Miami showdown to see who ends up winning the ACC. And right now, with Clemson's only loss being to Georgia, I think it's a possibility the ACC could still get 2 in, and I don't think Louisville is going to be one of them.
All right, another 2:30 window game, ABC, technically 2:40 is your kick time for Oklahoma-Auburn. So this game, Dunaway flipped around towards the end of the week here. Oklahoma have been favored all week. Right now, MyBookie.ag, you can get Auburn as a 1.5-point favorite, a total of 44. Dunaway, I'm a layman. It does feel like an awful high total for these two offenses and that Oklahoma defense in this game.
It does, but, defense can set up scores as well with short fields, and I do think that's something to keep in mind, especially if you got a team like Auburn who's been turning it over, throwing the football. I mean, the interception you're owned into the field, and it's an easy walk-in for Oklahoma at that point. But the updated Friday injury report, which you brought up yesterday, Brownie, Gibson, wide receiver out. Farouk, wide receiver out. Anderson, wide receiver out. Anthony, wide receiver out. Burks, wide receiver out. That's just the right wide receiver room. 2 DBs are out. 2 offensive linemen are out in this game. And I wonder, LT, and Brownie, help me with the rules here. I think that doesn't have to be an injury out. And
no.
We're at the 4-game mark for Oklahoma, and I'm wondering if any of those are out. I'm not playing anymore because I'm going to secure my red shirt, and they just haven't made that public.
The SEC goes out of their way, Lance, to make this is not an injury report. It's an availability report. So, yeah, it does not have to be injury. And I should point out, Lance also has a play on this game at lanceslight.com, but that is an alarming availability report for Oklahoma, no doubt.
Yeah, if that was the case, though, Dunaway, these kids like to make it known. Hey, man, I have tapped out of this situation. So it's something to keep an eye on. Boy, that would be really sad. But
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, counting the kicker Keitner, 11 guys who are listed as out for Oklahoma.
Yeah. Lance, you've got to play. It could be a side, could be a total. You can find out at lanceslight.com. Overall, for Auburn, if they are going to win this game, Pete Thelma reports they're starting Peyton Thorne. Obviously, cut down on turnovers. I mean, Auburn is -10, Oklahoma's +7. Any idiot can tell you Auburn can't turn the ball over like that and win this game.
Yeah, and look, Venables just hasn't been good on the road. He's 5-5 on the road. I mean, both of these coaches in Venables year 3 and then Hugh Freeze year 2 have been disappointing so far. And you've got a quarterback in Michael Hawkins making his first career start on the road. So I think Auburn's got to apply pressure, make him make some mistakes. This is an Auburn team that's just they're in a purgatory of mediocrity right now, maybe even below mediocrity. 6-19 against their last 25 against Power 5 opponents. This Oklahoma offense is bad enough that I believe Auburn's defense can look good, if that makes any sense. I mean,
No.
the Seth Little offense is down almost 13 points per game. Again, you're starting quarterback making his first start ever on the road. And if Oklahoma's going to win this game, it has to go back to that formula, Brown. They are first in the nation in takeaways. Auburn has obviously given it away more than anyone else. That is their path to victory. But, Auburn plays clean football. They should be okay.
Yeah. How about this? Could I bet on a Eugene Asante sack, forced fumble, and that the defense scores a touchdown? That's the way
that's your parlay.
Eugene Asante is the
This
player.
ain't the Super Bowl. This ain't the Super Bowl, so I don't think you're going to be able to find those numbers.
You're going to go link to the anthem by the Auburn marching band as well. Yeah.
This just seems like a Eugene Asante game today. That he will he'll be a madman, sort of like he was in Berkeley last year against Cal, against a depleted Oklahoma offensive line that has yet to be good this year. Whoever plays the length of the game at quarterback for Oklahoma better find Asante, because I pick him as the MVP today for Auburn in the victory.
Lance, another SEC game in this midday window you've got to play on is the SEC Network game, 3:15 in Austin. Texas a 38-point favorite over Mississippi State. Biggest dog State has been in 30 years, according to Todd Furman. 58.5 is the total in this game. Quinn Ewers is not going to play, according to all the reports, including our guy, Chip Brown. So this is going to be an Arch Manning game, but also Blake Shapen is not playing for Mississippi State. So neither starter in this game.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you look at on Jeff Levy's side. And by the way, they've been awful. Michael Van Buren Jr. is going to get his first start in Austin, where Texas has scored 50-plus in 4 straight home games. And if this is important to Sark, this will continue. I think Texas has a big game running the football because Mississippi State has been awful. When you give up 346 on the ground to Arizona State in the desert, I can't even imagine what Texas could do here. And I think if you're Sark, Sark seems like one of these guys, like Dunaway, you do the dynasty mode. I know our man Tyler Booker, NIL, offensive lineman for Alabama, does the dynasty mode. Like, you want to pad your stats and you want to be good and you want to be complete. And I wonder if Sark looks at this and he's like, I want to see how many rushing yards I can. Like, I want to score 50 on Mississippi State, but I also want to see, can we run the ball for 500 yards? And I think if they really put their mind to it, with all of the talented running backs, even with, the 2 injuries in the offseason, I think Texas probably could rush for 400 plus.
Well, and it's about keeping people happy too, right? So down the road, you may not be able to give this many running backs an opportunity to get a lot of yards and some touchdowns. So that becomes a factor in this one. This is the kind of game that really would make me mad if I was gambling on it, because at 38.5, I feel like it'll be one of those that if Texas and Sark wanted to win it by more than 38.5, they could. And then maybe they won't win it because they'll be doing some other things, shortening the game, running the football, to your point. So these are the kind that would make me mad, LT. If I'm watching this and I've got, say, Texas over 38.5, which I believe Texas is that good of a team. You watch this game and they end up winning by 37. You're like, that only happened because of coaching decisions, nothing to do with the quality of the team or my pick.
Boy, I tell you, man, when you're Texas and you finally get to host an SEC game and it's the worst team in the conference, I mean, I guess you're still excited that it's your first SEC game, but I mean, you kind of want it to, I guess, be Alabama or Georgia or somebody like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
they got Georgia coming. They'll get an expensive ticket here soon.
They absolutely will. All right, tonight over in Tuscaloosa, 6:30 kick time is Georgia and Alabama. EG is going to join us. You're going to have to flip the phone, though, EG. We got you sitting sideways. There you go. Look at old EG joining us. Emily Grace McWhorter is going to be over there. You can follow her on social media and at NextRound Live to see her coverage. 6:30 ABC. EG, you tweeted this morning. It felt like Christmas when you woke up.
It really does. Dunaway, I tried to go horizontal because last time I did this, you told me that we were a horizontal show.
Yeah. You were sideways, though. You can fix that. It can be fixed.
Yeah. I'm the technology guy. I'll explain it to you next week. Kiddo. You're in the car. Are you already in Tuscaloosa? Because you told me you were going to get there early.
No. I'm not there yet. I would not be, I'd be a little more glam if you will.
I mean, come on. Does that look like
wear the hoodie today? It's not a big game, EG.
No. It's just very casual. Just gonna pop down there. No
will you go heels today?
I was actually thinking about that. It's a little colder than I was expecting, and so I might break out the heeled boot.
Did you get some pants store?
Well, the heel boot is more functional, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And pointed toe box though, so it kind of hurts by like the second quarter. But not that you guys joined the show to hear about my fashion.
No.
Yeah,
Really quickly though.
Style over substance, man.
Natural surface. Remember, natural surface. You're on grass on a very wet track in Tuscaloosa today. It's rained a lot.
Yes, and that is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the rain. It's very misty out right now, but excited nonetheless.
Yeah, the grounds crew does not want you taking steps and leaving divots on every step of the surface there.
Very, very true.
You've spent some time in Tuscaloosa this week, EG. Just give us kind of a feeling. You were there yesterday. You know, it was an electric atmosphere there yesterday, but that doesn't really impact the players. Just being around the players, what has it felt like this week?
Yeah, I think what I've noticed and picked up on the most is how each coach that we were able to speak to was obviously asked about this game. What are the implications of this game? What is it like preparing for this game? And by Wednesday, it was very adamant that this game is not prepared for any differently inside of the facility. And the reason behind that is that they want to, and this, I'm speaking for Alabama, of course, is, you know, they have respect for each opponent that comes.
EG.
Well, I think this is going to be consistent problems in Tuscaloosa today.
Yeah, that's right. If she thinks it's going to get better going to Tuscaloosa, it's only going to get worse there. Lance, you've look. Anytime you've picked this game this week, you've picked Georgia. But I noticed today it was not part of your lineup there at Lance'sLight.com. So
yeah, I wanted to play both the side and total. I kind of like the over here. I kind of like Georgia. It's just one of those games I kind of want to sit back and just watch it, enjoy it, and see what happens. But I ended up not having a great feel for it. I don't really like how the numbers moving. I think I told you that guys just before we pull EG back on that where the money is moving, it looks to favor Alabama.
Yeah, but not enough to bring you into the game.
No.
Yeah. EG is back with us. I think we left off with the reason behind Alabama, preparing for this just like another game is, and then you left us in suspense.
My dad called. I had to decline that. The reason is that they are showing respect for each opponent that comes through, and the narrative isn't that certain players prepare hard for this game than any other games. So they were using some running backs as an example. Like there's no reason that Jam Miller is going to prepare harder for Georgia than he would against USF. And so that was very clear that this game is another game. Yes, it's the first SEC game. Nothing changes internally preparation-wise. It is the same intensity. Now, of course, we know that there are implications to this game between these two teams. The history is very rich. There's bragging rights involved. There's pride involved. And there's a discussion of Kirby Smart. And is he 1-5 against Alabama or is he 1-5 against Nick Saban? So there are a lot of layers to this, but internally, business as usual.
Well, it'll be a fun game tonight. Great atmosphere. President Trump is going to be there. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Well, Shane Gillis is going to be there. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not. But,
it's okay. Yeah, Shane Gillis is going to be there with our friends from Bud Light.
Yep.
And those commercials are great.
They are.
Hey, that was a secret. Well, now it's a beer.
I like me some Shane Gillis. He's a funny dude.
See if I'm sure Shane Gillis is probably wearing his best Walmart attire. So if you want to see what he's wearing head to toe, Trump, on the other hand. What size, by the way, do you guys think Trump is? Like a 48 long?
He wears those big shoulder pads in his suits. He's got those big old 80s shoulder pad suits. So I think you're probably about right, 48 long. What is he, like 6'2"?
I mean, he's a big dude.
He is a big guy, yeah. Yeah, 6'2", and he wears that big old long tie. He gets the tie from big and tall. There's no doubt about it because I think it comes down past the belt buckle.
It is. A chance maybe to bump into Miss Terry, ask her how the picks went today, okay? If you bump into her, EG. I can't wait to see your coverage all day long. You'll be out there with our friends at Ghost as well. We were doing that yesterday. I'm watching the crowd over here. It's drizzly and rainy, but they're there early for a 6:30 game. This will be one of those iconic tailgate days. If you're walking around the quad, it'll be one of those special days in Tuscaloosa when Georgia and Alabama fans get together in the quad. It is classic. You go to a lot of places. What do you think of tailgating in Tuscaloosa?
It's great. And I think one thing you mentioned about this game when Georgia and Alabama fans get together, there are so many connections. Obviously, we're neighbors when it comes to states, but so many of my friends, so many of my peers went to Alabama, went to Georgia. And I feel like there's such a personal element to this game with the fan bases as well that makes it so much fun. I was at an undisclosed breakfast location that stops production at 10:30, and everyone was in either Alabama or Auburn gear OU, I did not see any Georgia either heading this way or that way to go to their respective places. And I think that's one thing, living in Birmingham for a year, that still, like, I don't say surprises me, but I notice it, is that on Saturdays, you're either in Alabama or Auburn, and you are headed to or Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually have seen more Georgia this week.
Really?
Yeah.
interesting.
But you're right. I mean, typically it's 90%.
Very exciting. You could feel the buzz of that undisclosed non-sponsor.
All right. So,
No, you can go on and say Chick-fil-A. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That 280 Chick-fil-A is a Alabama Auburn melting pot on a Saturday morning. You go in on Saturday morning, and I mean, it looks like the Iron Bowl in there. There's no doubt about it. You got
Honest to goodness, I think EG gets Chick-fil-A every day but Sunday. I think she eats one meal there every day.
And what's wrong with that?
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I believe that to be true, though.
All right, CEG, she'll have some coverage from Ghost Energy of the tailgate. Some fun questions there. You can see that on social media, NextRound Live. And also, after the game, covercrimson.com, and the Cover Crimson YouTube channel will have the postgame show. Clint, Mick, and EG will participate in that, Stacy, and all the gang there. And get all her coverage right there at NextRound Live and covercrimson.com. All right, EG, enjoy it. Have fun over there.
Bye, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We'll see you, EG. Excited about today.
She's a
Auburn
spice
postgame.
girl. Yeah. She's a pumpkin spice girl, I think.
The barnauburn.com for Auburn postgame, covercrimson.com for Alabama postgame. Join for as little as $1. Lance, you got to play on another 6:30 game. NBC, Penn State playing host to Illinois. Penn State an 18-point favorite in this game. Boy, Brett Bielema's team has played well, only to go on the road and be almost a 3-touchdown dog in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I don't think people are buying Illinois. And look, Illinois is good. I mean, Dunaway brought this up yesterday. There's only 2 teams that are beating 2 ranked teams up until this point. Illinois is one of those. Luke Altmaier has been really, really good. I mean, he's putting up numbers. And normally you would think that, when you look at Brett Bielema's offenses, it's more about kind of, the numbers aren't great. They run the football consistently and they play really good defense. Salty defense, good quarterback play from the former Ole Miss quarterback. Penn State's coming off 718 total yards, but it was against Kent State. I loved where James Franklin's head was, though, actually getting the cover last week on a 1st and goal with under a minute to go, and making sure they won by 50+ because that's always important. It's a massive number. Massive number. I had to run out of the rabbit hole yesterday because I had to run down to our Cover Crimson guys, and I had to do the final 2 segments of their show. So that's why I kind of hustled, and I didn't want to have to drive. You saw how traffic was on the strip. So I walked down there, and I jumped on. They had some handicapper on there, and I completely baffled the guy because we were talking about this game. And I was like, if and this is a guy that's like, I don't know if he's in Vegas or was it Biloxi or wherever he was.
Biloxi.
But I said, this number realistically should be, and I'll go on and just hand you a play here of my 11 plays. If this number should have been about 10, realistically, I think Penn State is probably about 10 points better, even in Happy Valley, than Illinois. If this number was around 10, I could buy Illinois. I can't. This is one of those games that it makes absolutely no sense. It's 18. Yeah. And it's a really inflated number. I think Penn State's good. There are some people out there that believe they're maybe a top 5 team. I don't think they're that good, but they finally have explosive playmakers offensively to complement those backs. So I am laying the points here with Penn State. Weird number.
Yeah, I'm taking Illinois. I'm just the opposite of that one.
There you go.
I'll take Illinois and the points because I don't trust Drew Aller to throw the ball down the field. They've done that in the games before this, but they did not do it last year. And this is the best team they've played so far, in my opinion. I don't think they score enough points to cover that number. So give me Illinois taking all those points there with Brett Bielema to keep it close with some whiteout energy.
All right. Also in the night slate, this just came up yesterday when I spent a ton of time on this game because I don't think it's going to be close. But we were asked about the total of South Alabama at LSU, 6:45 SEC Network game tonight. That total is at 65.5. I mean, South Alabama's offense has been red hot, and LSU has just been okay, I think, on defense. So they are expecting a ton of points, Lance, to be scored in this game.
Yeah, and you mentioned South Alabama. They've scored, 135 points the last 2 weeks. I don't know what to think about LSU, man. The defense has allowed 35 plays of 15 plus. That is second worst right now in the SEC, behind only the Florida Gators. LSU looks like a C team to me right now. I don't know how you guys feel. The last couple of years, the defense was awful, but you had guys like Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels. And you don't have those guys right now. I think Nussmeier's good, but he ain't like that.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. For me in this contest, I love being suckered into the over because of what South Alabama has done their last two games. But I think that's what's happening here. You get suckered into the over. To me, I'm an under guy in this one, under the total. How do you feel about that one, LT, if you're making that call?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it does seem like just the way LSU's defense is playing, the way South Alabama is playing right now. You could sell me on the under.
Yeah, and I only go that because of trying to do something different than the way I believe. Right? It would be automatic to think, oh, South Alabama has been scoring 40 points basically in the first half, and LSU's doesn't have a Harold Perkins anymore, or ACL. It says points. So just the opposite of that. Take the under is my opinion. If I think over, take the under.
RTD4 said, like Vinny Verno's grandfather used to say about lines, if it doesn't make sense, it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Yeah, if it doesn't make sense, it makes sense. All right, a few more games. Lance is going to give us a three-teamer. Dunaway may give us his three-teamer. I don't know if you've got one ready, Dunaway. But a few more games. A reminder show presented by Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. I-65 is where you find them, right there on that I-65 corridor. And JohnstonRVCenter.com. Travel trailers as low as $145 a month. Fifth wheels, discounts starting at $45,000. So great savings on fifth wheels. Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. JohnstonRVCenter.com. And Dunaway, Champy's world famous fried chicken.
Yeah, Highway 119 in Alabaster for over a decade there. So it's a great business when you're in the same location for over a decade and you're still kicking out quality results. It's a destination lunch, but also a super place for date nights and for tailgating or just watching the games. It is Champy's world famous fried chicken with Sterling and the crew, Highway 119 in Alabaster.
Let's talk about Florida State SMU, 7 o'clock ACC Network. Lance, you have a play on this one. SMU, this is their first ever ACC game at all, right? Not just in Dallas. They have not played an ACC game yet. So this is it. So they get FSU right out of the chute, coming off a win. And SMU in this game favored 6 over Florida State and a total of 47.
Yeah, SMU, their only loss is to 4-0 BYU, who is ranked for the first time since 2021. They've outscored their last 3 opponents 154-73. So Rhett Lashley seems to have this thing back dialed in. But you look at Florida State, and, we talked about whose defense was it that has been so dominant? Notre Dame's. Florida State, 16 straight regular season games. They haven't given up more than 30 points. So their path to victory, I think, is going to be defensively and what Florida State can do up front to that SMU offensive line. Obviously, Florida State is not even close to what they were last year. And SMU, I still don't know what we've got with SMU.
Big disappointment in the quarterback position for Rhett Lashley. He finds himself, he thought he had 2 with experience, and he gets into the season, he doesn't really have any. And I do think this is where the trenches start to catch up with SMU. They just don't match up with some of the better teams in the ACC. Florida State, for me, on the road at SMU, I like the Seminoles.
Wazoo at Boise State. This is also a game Lance is playing. In fact, these last 3 are at lanceslike.com. Boise State is 6.5-point favorite on the blue turf. Washington State, it's a total of 65.5. We've actually got a pretty good late night slate tonight. This one starts at 9 o'clock on FS1. Should be a lot of points in this one, Lance.
Yeah, it should be. Ashton Genty, if you haven't watched the running back play, he is maybe the best running back in all of college football last year. That was kind of Ollie Gordon, and the Oklahoma State running back has really struggled the first month of the season, but Genty is that good. Washington State has been a pretty incredible story. I think they're ranked now. I think they are, when you look at the playoff predictor, they have some of the shortest odds to actually get to a playoff. It's a tough test for Washington State to go on the blue turf, though. And it's been a gritty team. They seem like they're in every single game, really games going into the fourth quarter. Boise State, I'm still not sure what you get at the quarterback position. I think it's a major drop-off from what you had with Taylor Green, who is now in Arkansas. Big game for both sides. Big game.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's almost playoff implications, right? In this contest for Washington State, I mean, it becomes a storyline if they win this game. That, oh man, Washington State. What if they win the rest of their games? What do you do with them? So I'll ask you guys this: if Washington State survives the blue turf tonight with what they have left, if they run the table, what do you do with Washington State?
Well, if Boise State, real quick, Brown, is 11-1 and wins the Mountain West, and Boise State's a ranked team, then I think Washington State, I mean, they are considered a Group 5, right?
That's what I was going to ask, Dunaway. Did we ever get the answer on that? Did they get that Group 5 berth or no?
I think you told me they did the last time we had this discussion.
No.
Oh,
I think they did. I think they do.
Yeah, Lance said he thought they did. And I said it makes sense, but you made the point of that's actually not just like a gift. That is a negotiated position, and I don't know that they've been able to negotiate that. So
yeah.
I don't really, Lance, know where they are in the pecking order.
I don't either. I took our last conversation, I think last week. I felt whoever made the argument, I felt like it was a good argument, and I left thinking, okay, they're a Group of 5 team. So I believed the panel here last week, so I'll do a little research.
Well,
if
I am whoever was negotiating, and who is the commissioner that negotiates for? Is it the Mountain West guy, Craig Thompson? I don't know why that name just jumped to my head.
I don't even know if he's still the Mountain West guy.
But if I'm that guy negotiating, and you're like, okay, these two teams are without a conference, I understand. Hey, just for the far-fetched possibility they go 12-0, we wouldn't want them to take one of our spots. But you probably look at it and you're like, Washington State or Oregon State, they're not going undefeated. We're not worried about them.
Arizona is at Utah. Guys, breaking news from Pete Thamel this morning. You boys both sitting down. Cam Rising is a game-time decision in this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Here's what's going to happen in this situation, and I don't know how closely you guys have watched, and I've watched way too much Isaac Wilson over the last 3 weeks, going back to Baylor when he came in for Cam Rising, and then against Utah State, and then this past week against Oklahoma State. I think he's going to end up developing into a really good quarterback, and I don't know if it's going to happen overnight, but I do think with Isaac Wilson, they should still be able to win this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I like Utah winning the game defense. I've been disappointed with Arizona, especially in that loss to Kansas State. They've got a great quarterback, a great wide receiver, but for some reason the offense isn't clicking on all cylinders, except with those two guys. Two guys can't win your football game. I'm going to take Utah on that massive home field advantage.
And the final game, also at lancesluck.com, Oregon is at UCLA. I'm not going to call UCLA a proud program. I mean, they've had some good moments. But Lance, holy cow, to be a 25.5-point home dog. That is just remarkable to me. 10 o'clock Fox
time since 90, they've been listed back-to-back 20-plus point dogs. And I brought this up yesterday on the show or earlier this week. I was really impressed with what they were able to do as far as fighting in Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium last weekend. And then, the talent just kind of evaporated. They got worn down, and LSU ends up winning the game by double digits. But now you just wonder where UCLA is hosting an Oregon team that has completely dominated this series. They've won 15 in the last 18 straight up. They've covered the majority of those. And, Oregon's coming off a bye. Oregon's going to be fresh.
From the Seattle newspaper on the Washington State question, by the way, they are in the same boat as Notre Dame. They cannot be a conference champion, but they are not a Group of 5 team. They'll have to be ranked high enough to secure one of the at-large bids.
Yeah,
well,
they are the same spot as Notre Dame in that aspect.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame obviously has a much larger advantage in that world than they do. So it's unfortunate for them. All right, Lance, you ready to unveil your 3-teamer for us? You got one?
Yeah, look, I mean, this one's not too exciting, but it just when we get a confirmation for Dunaway, then somehow, some way it will not hit. You ready?
Yep.
Michigan -1 at home against Minnesota.
Okay.
I think we would take Nebraska -0.5 at Purdue.
Then
we would close it out with Utah +1 against Arizona.
Utah +1. Oh, the night one. Utah +1. They're laying 9.5.
How do you feel that way?
I love that. I love that because one of those comes in my 4-team parlay today.
Oh,
which
one?
Utah.
Will you tell us?
Utah without the T's. I like Utah. I like Stanford getting points against Clemson. I think Clemson wins it by, say, 20, but that's not enough to cover the point spread, right? So I think Stanford plays it close enough inside the number for an easy Clemson win. And then I also like Oregon. They will name their score against UCLA. And I like Auburn. So those are my four. That's for my parlay. Would be Stanford, Utah, Oregon, and Auburn.
I will just say this. We are opposite a lot this week. So maybe this is your big week. We have been killing it in college football. 2-1 to start this week. 10-5 2 weeks ago. 10-6 last week. We continue to roll at lanceslog.com, where we have 11 plays for you, including one 11 o'clock kick here coming up in an hour.
Oh, and opposite of me, which means it could be LT's first perfect Saturday.
11-0, baby. That's what we're pulling for.
11-0.
11-0. Lanceslock.com for that. All right. Also, post-game, covercrimson.com after Alabama, Georgia, late night tonight. Who knows what will happen at Jordan-Hare? It's been a wild ride down there this year. But all the gang at thebarnauburn.com will have it. You can get all of our coverage at NextRound Live on social media as well. Johnston RV Center brings you the show. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. And Dunaway also, Champy's world famous fried chicken.
Trust me, if you've been, you know already. You know you're going to go back anyway. But if you've never been and you get the opportunity, it's just right off the I-65 exit in Alabaster, Highway 119. It is Champy's Chicken. It is worth the trip anytime you get by there, whether it's for a football weekend or whether it's spring, summer, winter, or fall. Champy's Chicken, Sterling the Crew. It is the best Southern food you'll ever put in your mouth.
If you want more from Lance, win at Lance's Lock on YouTube. He's about to go live there, so he'll talk about all the games. So you can see that from Lance coming up in just a few moments. We will be back with you Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Covercrimson.com, thebarnauburn.com for all the post-game. Everybody enjoy your college football Saturday. See you Monday.